Hey, I'm David Diggs.
I am Katie Aselton, and we are here with the film Magic Hour. Simply put, it's a love story. It's a story about Aaron and Charlie who go off to the desert and Joshua Tree to work on their relationship. They're going through some pretty serious stuff. It was an interesting beginning in that we had gone away for New Year's as we do, just the two of us, and the new year was 2020 and the future was bright. Anything was possible. And you said, "What do you want from this year?" And I was like, "Honestly, I really want as an actor a role that I've never been offered before, and I really as a director want to stretch myself creatively in ways that like I knew I had in me and just like hadn't done yet." And so he's like, "Great, we've got a 5-hour road trip. Like, let's just write it." And so we did it as a voice memo in my phone, which I still have. And if you look at it, you're like, "Yeah, that's the whole movie."
You like took me out to lunch one day to sort of
A mediocre breakfast.
yes. Well,
It was not great.
but to pitch this idea of the film, and I had been sent like whatever there was of it,
Mhm.
scriptlet, which I already loved, and then you were awesome, and it was I don't know, it felt pretty immediate actually. I immediately felt very comfortable with you, which was nice, and then the shooting process was just like I don't know. You guys just make movies how they should be made. It's just it was exactly as many people as there needed to be. Slightly too little time, just under the appropriate amount of
Just to
time
light
to
the
do
fire.
something, and like, yeah, and like a really great idea. And it was just, yeah, show up and be honest and do the thing. And it was like so much fun. I
It
think about it
was
all the time.
interesting casting him because the role really was to find someone who felt like my soulmate, which is like no short order. Is that the right word? It's no tall order. It's a tall
It's a
order.
tall.
It's not a short order. It's a tall one. No, it was the hardest thing in the world to think of who it might be. And one year before, well, we shot this in 22,
Yeah. Many years ago.
22,
Wow. Yeah.
22, before the strikes.
Mhm.
Um, and but I had seen him, I guess, right in 20, like after we had written this, and I saw him at an awards ceremony. I was like, "That's my guy." And he was on a TV show that went forever and ever and was never available. And I was like, "Oh, that's such a bummer." And so I like talked to different people, and I was like, "No, this isn't." And I was like, "There's no rush. Like, I'll just make it when we're ready to make it." And sure enough, out of the blue, his show ended, and our one of our agents called Mark and was like, "David is looking for something like kind of like what you guys do." And I was like, "Oh my god, no, you don't understand. I have a script." And that was how that happened.
That's amazing.
It was perfect.
Yeah.
Initially, when we wrote this, it was Aaron's friends from Los Angeles come out, and it was sort of not a script. And over the course of between when we wrote it and when we were going to shoot it, Tennessee passed their laws about drag in Florida, and it was all just like drag was becoming increasingly under fire. Things are not much different now, but it felt very important to me to, uh, I don't know, it felt right. It just felt like the most organic thing because it was more of like in a way of not making the queens like these magical unicorns, which shouldn't be put on them, but they absolutely are. But like, it was also just watching this woman go through what she's going through and also seeing these queens and dealing with their grief and their struggles. And it felt like such a communal experience and an understanding of the challenges and also just such a beautiful surreal, magical moment in the desert where you're just like, what is real and what isn't? And um, I don't know. I loved it. It was really fun to do.
You guys sent me that song, and
Mhm.
it was super fun. But like, I don't know. I just loved getting to
I said to Jim, he's like, that is not in my range. And
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was like, you'll figure it out.
And we did, but it was like as long as it doesn't have to be pretty, it'll be fine. And it was, but that scene sitting in the back of the car was like it's still
Yeah.
one of my favorite
But it's
things.
so great because when we wrote it, it was like Charlie hums along to the song on the radio. And I was like, well, guess what? I'm not going to waste that opportunity.
Yeah, who's
It
that
like
is
gets
somebody's
stuck in my
song.
head every time we watch it. It'll like be in my head forever. When Mark and I were sort of hatching this idea, we were sort of talking about the idea of what would happen if we lost each other. And I was like, well, I'm still going to be there and we're still going to make fart jokes. And like, I hope he's with, like, I feel like you would continue laughing with someone even after they're gone. And like, and the idea that like a part of them is always with you and stays with you. And hopefully that's a part that like just makes your heart burst and still brings you joy, even if you're going through grief.
There's something about this film that I love is that there's so much about it that's about like the decision to live your life. You know, we like, especially once you've found your person and you partner with that person and it's a lot of life you just kind of fall into, I think. And so like having this like catastrophic moment be like a time where you have to say, oh no, I'm deciding now that I'm going to live, and what all that everything that means. It's one of the reasons I find the drag scene so powerful,
Yeah.
is because like this choice to to show up for your life.
And it's interesting because I think even earlier when like they're doing the video to Ricky after going through what they've been, like that's another moment in their life where they're like, I'm choosing to live. Like there are these moments, these cornerstones in your life where you're like, I am physically putting one foot in front of the other and choosing to move forward. And I think there's so many things that we go through in our life beyond death, like just hardships where you're like, I need to pick myself up and I need to continue to move forward and live my life.
Yeah. And humor is a very useful part of that. A big
Yeah. And I like hope.
important tool.
Yeah. It's like a lifesaver, a buoy.